name. Lilith.
Diablo 4 is finally here after 11 long years of waiting from Diablo 3, and it's a bit of a return to form, to its darker, grittier aesthetic, especially after the bit of the grumbling we had from players who played Diablo 3. Now, I thought it would be only fitting to collect 4 of ABC Gamer's most intrepid adventurers to review Diablo 4. Joining me on the couch, we have Elliot, Luke, and Joe. First of all, who played Diablos 1, 2, and 3?
Since the first game in '97, played all the Diablos and all the expansions, so it's very much my cup of tea,
Yeah.
demon tea. However, I'm not as hardcore probably as a lot of players are who really like play the end game for like another year or something.
Yeah.
I usually just smash through the campaign, dabble with the end game for a little bit, and then I drop it.
But you've played all of them.
played them all. Love it.
Luke?
I played Diablo 3.
Yeah.
But admittedly, I only got halfway through.
Oh, really?
And then kind of gave up on it.
You had it.
Yeah.
You had your taste.
I got my
and you're like-
fill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Joe?
Yeah, I only played Diablo 3, and I played up till the credits, and then I stopped. It was like, I had enough.
So we've got a good rate, because I played all of them as well. Just like you, Elliot, in that I finished all of them, but I'm not into the min-maxing, gear collecting, looty, all that stuff. But it's good to see that we've got a whole range of experiences. But for Diablo 4, what classes did you main?
Barbarian for me.
Barbarian. Why Barbarian?
I like to smash stuff. I just like to tank battles and like just get in there and beat stuff up.
Amazing. And Luke?
I was a sorcerer.
Sorcerer, what was your sorcerer's name?
Randall.
Randall the Sorcerer. Why?
Because he was giving regional librarian vibes.
Yeah.
Is that because he reads a lot of spell books? Is
Yeah,
that
I
the-
think so. And I think that's how he became a sorcerer as well. He was
Yeah.
just like putting books back on the shelf, and there was
What's
a spell
this?
tomb there. Yeah, and he was like,
I
no.
like the idea of the Barbarian being too loud around Randall.
Yeah.
Smash.
So in every Diablo game in the past, I played like the warrior, then it was like, I think barbarian, and then crusader or paladin, all those sword and board types. So this time I went ranged. I decided to play the rogue. I had to try something different, and it took a bit of adjusting because I, have that instinct to just get up close, the smashy smashy.
Yeah.
So it was fun. It was fun, like taking, sitting up the back
Yes.
and exploring all those cool rogue skills.
Yeah. I played Druid because in Diablo 2, which was actually my first Diablo that I ever played, they had Druid in that one. And you could shape shift. I always want to be a dog and a bear, and you can do that in Diablo 2. And then in Diablo 3, no Druid. No Druid class. But Diablo 4, Return of the Druid, absolutely have been loving it so far. So Diablo 4 takes place 50 years after the events of Diablo 3, and there's a new big bad demon in town, and her name is Lilith.
My children. The lords of hell are coming to devour our world. Salvation lies not in the light, but in you.
Basically, Lilith has returned and wants to conquer hell, and the fallen angel Inarius wants to destroy her so he can return to heaven. And you are stuck in the middle, figuring it all out. How did the story play for you, and how did it draw you in, or what do you reckon, Elliot?
It wasn't super clear, the storytelling. I think it probably is if you remember all of your Diablo lore,
Yeah.
going back through all the games, because, the internal conflict between demons and angels, Inarius and Lilith, there's backstory there. They made the Nephilim,
Which
is humanity.
Ah, of course. that was going to be my second guess.
And so Sanctuary was somewhere they could hide from the eternal conflict. I don't know. It goes, I don't really remember all of it, but it's kind of all there. Look, it could be Diablo wants to go get a burger. I don't care.
Totally.
I just want to click on all the stuff.
Yeah. Now, I don't know how you all feel about the story of Diablo, but for me personally, I don't play it for the story. No. Like, it's in the name of the game. Diablo's a baddie. It's always a baddie. A demon, and you're a goodie. And you just have to smash demons, kill Diablo.
Yeah, I mean, I loved the cinematic quality. Like, just the cinematics are amazing, and I was really invested straight away in the story. But then after the first sort of introduction act, it just falls into the background.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, I'm just playing it to click on stuff now, which is fine, but...
Yeah.
Did you like the story? Did it draw you in, Luke? Or?
Yeah, enough. I'm probably the same as you guys in that I don't really like need it to play it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But anytime Lilith was on screen, I was,
Slay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Slay.
I wanted more. I wanted more story. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to see more of her. I wanted to, and as you say, it was a bit unclear what sort of her motives were, what I was fighting against. I wasn't really sure. I was like, okay, she's bad.
Well, they leave a lot of that in the world for you to discover, I think, which is interesting, and it does sort of work. Like if you do click on all the NPCs for all those little drops of dialogue, it fleshes it out for you really well.
Okay.
And in terms of like the world building, all that lore is there, and I think they do a great job actually this time. I feel like with all the NPCs around the towns, having little bits to say, they don't talk too long. They just give you a nice grab, and it helps adding to the atmosphere and the world building. And this time I actually wanted to stop and click and listen to what everyone had to say. And usually they're moaning about their life, or they're mourning, someone who's died, or it's pretty bleak. But it really did, bring the world alive for me a bit more.
Yeah, that, and I think I've always thought every Diablo with the opening cinematic, very, very good at drawing you in. Like the cinematics are beautiful. The other thing with the aesthetic, we spoke about the aesthetic in the beginning, the dark aesthetic matches that moody guitar, like arpeggiated riff is amazing.
Yeah.
But to pull you into the story, I thought it was very captivating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of like they've got like 2 or 3 levels of that with this game. It's like you've got those big cinematics. You've also got some sort of like lesser quality ones that sort of bridge you through the story, and then there's sort of the in-game story cinematics, which are generally pretty clunky. It's like your avatar standing there.
Yeah.
But they have made them a bit better this time. The camera moves in, it moves around. The characters do emote a little bit and sort of talk as they're walking, and it's better. There was just some nice little tiny storylines. Like there was this like creepy woman in one of the towns who was like carrying out all these little small exorcisms.
Yeah,
And then
that was
how
great.
that plays out.
Yeah,
And,
that one was
it
great.
was fun because it was sort of multi-staged.
Yeah.
You'd come back and visit the person again, and it would progress a little bit further. And so there's some of those sort of side quests are multi-staged, which is really nice.
Some of them are definitely better than others. Some are just sort of like,
Fetch quest.
go kill some monsters for me. They're out there killing my cows. And then there's others which are a bit deeper and have a bit more interesting storytelling going on in them.
Yeah.
I love how there's like a demonic evil Lilith who's like absolutely destroying the world, and one guy's like, my cows! But my cows though.
Like some berries for me?
Yeah, this is so unacceptable. Help me out.
Cows, is there a cow level? We don't know.
It's a little throwback Easter egg for the Diablo heads out there. Now, obviously, we approached Diablo review as one would approach Diablo the Demon. We sort of divided and conquered, didn't we? Right? Each of us played different classes. And I want all of us to chat a bit about our experiences for each class. Let's start with you, Randall.
Sure.
Luke, you're the Sorcerer Librarian.
Yeah.
Sorcerer class, Librarian is a subclass. Tell us about what it's like to play as Sorcerer.
So yeah, I played the Sorcerer, which was super fun. Sorcerer has like 3 main skill trees. You can kind of pick and choose, but synergy-wise, you tend to like gravitate towards one. So Lightning is like area of effect damage, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Lots of fun. Ice is a lot about like immobilizing and slowing down enemies, and then Fire is damage over time. I gravitated towards Lightning just because it also had the best graphics. It just looked the best.
The way it arcs around
Yeah.
all the
With chain lightning stuff as well.
Yeah. So much fun.
And you picked Sorcerer because?
Because specifically I like the area of effect damage stuff. I like just like helping out the big beefcakes.
But also Diablo, like I must say, area of effect, that's like one of the first things I think about when I think of Diablo. Like doing an attack that can then ripple out or like just expand out, or one huge attack to kill a lot of little things. Like I reckon it inspired a lot of popular games now, like indie games like Vampire Survivor. That's hugely inspired by Diablo, right?
Yeah.
Like, and obviously you're going to pick Sorcerer's, one of the main tools under the Sorcerer's Librarian belt
Yeah.
is the AoE attacks.
Yeah, it was great. There's like one attack, I think it's called like Chain Lightning, and I pressed it once. There were a bunch of bats coming towards me. Just killed them all at once.
So
Great.
satisfying, yeah. Now, obviously the yin to the yang of the Librarian Sorcerer, we've got the Quiet Sorcerer Librarian, Loud Barbarian.
The Barbarian, yeah.
Yeah.
The Barbarian I went with is a very like bleed-based build. So he does a lot of damage over time, and then there's a move you have which is called Rupture, where you can stab them and apply all the damage over time instantly. And you also get some health back for that, and it causes an explosion that makes everyone else around you start bleeding. So you're just like constantly making everyone bleed, stabbing them, making them explode. And there's another move called Death Blow, which is just like this heaps powerful, massive attack that instantly recharges on a kill. So you can just be smashing through mobs. It's very, very satisfying.
Oh, you two would get along, I reckon.
Probably, yeah.
You're like, Joe the Barbarian, and then you're like,
It's great how they all complement each other.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
classes just all complement
Yeah.
each other. Does the Barbarian still do those big lunge kind of attacks where it's
He's
like,
got those. I haven't got that equipped. It's like you've got 4 different weapons as a Barbarian and sort of 4 different like skills or core skills that can apply to those weapons. So I kind of am focusing on just like the bleeding weapon at the moment, but you can be a lot more speedy if you want. You can be slower and heavier. It just depends how you want to play.
yeah, right. Elliot, who, first of all, we've got Randall. Wait, what's your character's name?
Gog.
Gog the Barbarian, Randall the Sorcerer, Elliot. Character name, class.
Fish tank,
Fish Tank.
and that's because I usually play a tank.
Yep.
Yeah, but Fish Tank was a rogue. There's multi sort of layers to the rogue. You can be that ranged rogue who's just spamming the battlefield with arrows, which is the route that I took. Or you can go the more stabby, backstabby rogue who sort of is using concealment, laying traps and then sort of getting behind the enemies as they're stunned or whatever and stab, 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 stab. And also, you know, you can play combinations of that. And I think we'll talk about the way,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of the abilities and skills can all be kind of like mushed together to kind of create some really interesting builds. But certainly with the rogue, you have imbuements that you can use onto your arrows, like, you know, poison, cold, shadow damage, and I went poison for some damage over time as well. And my ultimate skill was like the classic rain of arrows.
Oh, I've seen
Which
it.
is,
Yeah.
it's so satisfying, you know,
Yeah.
like you just see it like go across every mob that's sort of there.
It's like that movie 300. Like our arrows will block out the sun, and you just see like like it's raining.
Yeah,
it's
it's
just that
like it's
everyone's
raining.
getting
And then
skewered.
the ground is like littered with these tiny sharp little arrows
Yeah.
all left behind. Like they make it so satisfying, although those ultimate skills, like,
Yeah.
you know, certainly like all the magic effects look beautiful. And so
Yes.
you're getting that thrill
Super
from
satisfying.
all of those ultimates.
So my main was the Druid, of course, because I loved it in Diablo 2. Had to play it in Diablo 4. Druid is a shapeshifter, so you can turn into a werebear or a werewolf. You can also, there's this thing called like nature magic, so you can have nature magic that's earth-based or storm-based. So you're either shooting cyclones that's like a whirl around you. You got making like, you know, like Avatar the Earthbender type of thing, like little things of rock come up and smush people. And you spoke about the ultimate. Ultimate that I chose was this it's called Cataclysm, okay? Amazing name. But it's like a huge storm, lightning comes down and hits everyone, and then these like hurricanes will go all around and just absolutely decimate the battlefield. It's so fun because I picked Druid because it's a jack of all trades character. I'm very I have a short attention span and I get sick of things very quickly. And so I would be like, I want to be a bear. And then I play as a bear. I'm like, rah, 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 and then I'm like, oh, I'm sick of the bear.
I've got to say, like when we were out in the wild, a few times I was attacking your bear because I thought it was one of the other bears.
Yeah, and
Some
then I
of the wildlife.
swapped. Yeah, and then I became like a nature magic shooting, you know, wind and all that. So Druid's really great for swapping your character's builds quite drastically, because as the bear form, you're a tank. You're closer to the barbarian. Like you can tank a lot of damage, do a lot of damage, but then as the nature, it's closer to sorcerer, where I'm shooting like lightning storms and everything and doing damage over time, area of effect type moves. So that's why I picked Druid. Absolutely love it. can't wait to unlock all the skills.
Yeah. Well, like you were saying actually about the ultimate, it's the one you chose, right?
Yes.
There's like, you can only choose one, but there's like 4 or 5 there. So it's like, oh, I want to go back and see what the others are like.
Yeah.
You know? And the fact that you can respec and go and try out some of those other powers and sort of build the type of character that you want to play. It's really, really well done.
You can literally do it in combat. Like you can like run.
so
I'm
easy,
getting
yeah.
hit. It's just I can imagine Randall running and like going through all his books.
Fire,
like, oh,
fire, fire.
Where's my ultimate? No, I don't want this one. It's like pages flying everywhere. No. Yeah, here it is. Ah, a big meteor comes down. Like it's so fun to change on the fly. They didn't. I feel like that kind of restriction in Diablo 3 was like. You kind of understood why, I guess you don't want to let everyone respec whenever they want. But in Diablo 4, why? Diablo 4's like, just do it. And it doesn't, it makes it better. It doesn't make it worse. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was doing one of the dungeons and just came across a boss that was just kicking my butt. And then I just was like, okay, well, I'll respec. This is how I ended up with the bleeding build because I was like, I just couldn't tank him. So I was like, I just need to do damage over time and then like run away. So I just like stab, run away, and then I could just dodge him for a while the bleeding just takes effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it gives you that opportunity. Like it doesn't punish you. It encourages experimentation, which is I think is a huge thing of RPGs. Like, what if I made everyone bleed all the time? That might be fun, and it worked.
One of the things like mechanically that they've done to make it easy is the skill tree. Bringing back the skill tree, which I think was in Diablo 2.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to interpret, as a player. You've got your branching paths, you know which ones you can choose. You've got limited choices here. You've got little passives off to the side that you can add in, and you can pick those passives that sort of boost whatever it is that you're doing, like things that might, extend the duration of a poison effect or something. There's passives for that.
Welcome back, skill tree. I missed you so much. It's so good. Diablo 3 had the whole like ability types for each mapped button. I remember that. And like you could then change, like one ability could have different variations. It felt so limited. And you forgot how limited it was until the skill tree came back. And then, okay, so for Druid, I don't know what it's like for y'all, but for Druid, what you can do is like the way the skill tree branches out, like there might be bear moves on one side, werewolf on the other. And then in the middle, there's like a synergy one where if you upgrade the middle one, it'll say anytime you turn into a werewolf and then turn into a werebear, it grants you a certain like bonus or whatever.
Oh,
so it encourages them having both. The key passive part that I really like is there's for Druid anyway, there's not just key passives for a specific build. You can use a key passive for like maybe 6 or 7 different builds that you want.
Well, that's the thing with the sorcerers as well. Like sorcerers have enchantments after a certain point.
Okay.
And you end up with 2 slots, but basically you can add an ability into these slots and it changes the ability and gives you like a specific passive based on that ability. So for example, like Fireball would be the ability, very self-explanatory. But as an enchantment, it meant that anytime I killed an enemy, it exploded for 50% of its damage. So it does encourage you to like look through all the skill trees, even ones you're not necessarily using, to like find cool synergies.
Yeah, and like we said, because it lets you respec whenever you want.
Yeah.
It's not so much a commitment to like, what am I trying out? Oh, I'm gonna try this out.
Yeah.
So with all those abilities to have to trigger, very, very tricky. Did anyone play Diablo 4 on a console?
Well, no, I played it on controller.
But, so you
On
played it on
PC.
PC with a controller. You played it on a console with a controller, obviously.
Yeah.
How was that experience playing Diablo on a controller?
I thought it was great.
Yeah?
It was really good to be able to just like map the abilities however you like wanted on the controllers. I worked out pretty quickly that like, I had my potion next to my like armor and then my attacks on the other side. Yeah, it was good.
Oh, so you assigned it like defensive versus attack?
Because I'm button mashing the whole time.
Yeah,
and if
Diablo,
know I'm like left hand or right hand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, so you can divide it like that. Yeah, right. And Joe, did you have a similar experience with the
Sort
controller?
of, yeah. Like I had my big stabby move I put on trigger because it's like that just felt like get it in there.
Yeah, that
and like
pulling the
and then
trigger,
like one of the bumpers was the big smashy move. It felt satisfying, and there's enough buttons on the controller.
I was going to say, it's not like you have to like use a trigger to kind of like shift to another
No.
layout
there's none of that.
actions.
No,
Yeah.
none of that. It might sort of depend on the class. Like I feel like Barbarian is quite built for like an action game style of control, so it works well on controller. Whereas some of the more ranged builds might be better, you know, with the
Yeah,
clicking.
I was on keyboard on mouse, and I felt like I wanted to sort of like aim specifically at that enemy. It's nice and quick on a mouse to just
Click.
target, target, target.
Yeah.
What you want to shoot at. It felt pretty good, and yeah, that dash move.
Oh.
I love to use it. I wish the timer wasn't so
quicker?
frequent. You wanted like I just
Yeah.
wanted to barrel roll everywhere. So instead of that, I was using my dash ability to just like
Oh, you have an ability that moves you as well.
a little fast, like a little Jedi dash. You know.
Must be nice.
You've got to get boots with extra dash charges. That's
Or a quick cooldown.
Yeah.
a quick cooldown.
Or a quick cooldown.
Yeah.
So the controls are sweet, but obviously, what are we going to use all these controls and skills for? Well, to kill mobs. Yeah, we're here to kill some demons. Now, how do we feel about, Elliot, how do you feel about the mobs, the enemy variation, the bosses and everything in Diablo 4?
So in terms of how they look, great.
Oh.
You know, I certainly had a few favorites in just in terms of look, like those wood wraiths, the trees.
Yeah.
And
like the Ents.
the ant
big
was always
ant,
like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
cool, I love hitting the tree guys.
Yeah.
That's fun. And then there were my pet hates, like those quill rats or whatever they're called.
Oh, they're classic,
Yeah.
though. D2 classic little hedgehog with the
Yeah.
shoots the things. Why'd you hate them?
They're pesky,
Yes.
those quill rats. But in terms of, I guess, the variation, at first it felt good, but then after the first, I guess, 8 hours, it felt like I'm not seeing enough variation in the open world yet.
It's pretty same.
You know, unless you were really sticking to the story missions and getting some cool bosses, and you know, if you're just doing sort of side quests and exploring the world, it's a bit it's a bit samey
Yeah.
for a while there.
Yeah. The thing I liked in Diablo 4 that Diablo 3, I think it had the same thing with the elites in that every time I came across an elite, I knew that I had to like fight a special enemy that had a special ability. Like the one that gave me the most fear. I didn't realize I had like claustrophobia until I met this enemy, but you know the one that makes the wall that goes shoo, shoo, and it traps you in? And like, I'm a free spirit, I'm a druid. Like, don't cage me up, I'm an animal.
I love it when they do that to me. I'm like, yeah, you're in here with me now.
Oh, yeah. I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me. No, see, because I'm free range. Do you know what I mean? I'm a free range bear. I need to be out there. I need to be moving. But when they box you in, and I just forgot that was a thing, because that was in Diablo 3. And it's like randomized, like that ability for each elite. When they brought that back, I was like, oh, this is why it's challenging in this game. So every time I thought I was breezing through the game, just killing low-level mobs, anytime I brought a leader, I was like, yes, this is why I love Diablo.
Yeah, it's like you've got to
challenge.
constantly be moving.
Yeah.
You can't stay in one spot, you'll get overwhelmed. You've got to constantly be moving.
I do feel like there's good variety, but at the end of the day, it feels like the way you interact with the combat becomes quite samey. It's sort of like you have your 3 moves or your process. Like for me, it's like apply the damage over time, then apply the stab thing, then, you know, smash them. Like, and so I
Totally.
do that fight after fight after fight. Doesn't really matter what the mob is.
So you want those enemies to come up against that force you out of that comfort zone.
Yeah, something that sort of forces you to do something different. You know?
Yeah,
So
well, the bosses do that. It sort of took a while to get to some of those ones that were like, okay, that was a bit spectacular.
Most of the ones I've fought have been sort of, they summon some mobs, they'll like charge up a little area thing you got to dodge out of.
I wonder, is that a symptom of the open world design where, because you're getting sidetracked a lot with lots of dungeons and side quests that probably have more generic bosses at the end of those?
Yeah.
That instead of like singularly smashing the story campaign and getting through those big set pieces?
Yes. It's like a saturation model of like, I am doing the same thing over and over again, so that when you do see something that is actually maybe a tiny bit different, it doesn't stand out amongst the crowd as much. I will say, I just recently had a boss fight that was amazing, because I think it has a lot to do with the RPG element of me being a druid. I fought this boss that was also a druid, and so it was nature magic against nature magic. Like, who's better at making a storm? Like, we were both like did our ultimate ability, and it was the same as like swirling winds, and it was awesome. But that was all, I guess, aesthetic. It wasn't really
Mechanical.
Like, mechanical, no.
Yeah.
It was, like you said, move out of the red zone.
Yeah.
Get out of the red zone.
Or
hit.
go kill the mobs that are making
Yeah.
the boss invulnerable, so that
Yes.
you can then get an attack in.
Yeah.
And kind of repeat that a bit.
But I wonder, I don't know, it's also like, that is Diablo though. Like that's very much Diablo style of design. And maybe they want to stay true to the roots of, Diablo 2.
It's kind of like the names as well. It's like, it's everything. They're all like generic demon name, the Defiler or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's
They
like-
draw it out of a hat.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Mad Libs.
Oh, this one's Cloth the
Poisonous.
Defiler. Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
excellent.
toxic.
Is it randomly generating a
Yeah. Yeah, it is repetitive to a certain degree, but I haven't been burnt out by that yet.
No.
No.
I think that's actually part of the appeal as well. It's I don't want to call it a mindless game because you do need to be on your toes, but it's sort of something you can switch off a little bit at the end of the day.
Yes.
Go grind through some mobs and some dungeons and just like click on stuff, get some loot, and you don't have to be super engaged and
Yeah.
like super sweaty.
Yeah,
I think that's
yeah.
a huge part of the appeal of the game.
Yes.
Yep.
So all that killing, really important, but after you kill a demon, what do you get? Some sweet loot, some sweet gear, right? Now, how did you feel about that whole cycle of killing and looting to get better gear, to kill better monsters? Was it satisfying?
I mean, it's like the most satisfying thing in games. Like that loot chase when you get a legendary drop. Oh, the dopamine just, it fires full strength. you
Yeah,
know?
it's drip fed though. It
Yes.
doesn't give you what you want straight away, enough so that when you really want it, you're really starving for it. You go, here you go, it's a treat.
Man,
Yeah.
I mean, Blizzard have been mastering this for decades.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That slow, incremental sort of improvement on your character and the rush you get when you get something a little bit special. You know? They know exactly how to trigger all of the happy impulses, receptors.
It's amazing how, it's great how they've made the combat feel, we were talking about it before, it's like left brain, right brain, where the combat is you switch off, you're kind of like whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then when you switch back on, that's like your left brain being like, no, you have to stop and think about what gear matters, what'll make you better at bashing things, like how can you then, then you're flipping between the two, and then when you go into combat and kill something and get an item, then you have to think again. Like it does this cycle that's very pleasurable in the game, and you keep chasing more and more.
I think the gear is like, it's the different loot you get is a good way to like mix gameplay up as well. Like
Yes.
we kind of were talking before about like you get into a bit of a rhythm when you're playing, and then there's only so many kind of attacks you do. You got your ultimate and your core and whatever. But as the loot's been dropping, I've been trying to like respec and lean into the loot that I'm getting, which is cool because it means that I kind of changed my playstyle a bit. Like the loot that I have at the moment, it's really beneficial for me to get up close and personal, which I probably wouldn't normally as a sorcerer.
Or a librarian.
Or a librarian,
Yeah.
more importantly.
Unless someone doesn't return the book.
Yes,
Yeah,
or he's talking too loudly.
As if-
But it's been really fun playing like that. And I don't
Yes.
think I would if I wasn't kind of leaning into the different loot.
See, it encourages experimentation as well. The other thing I love about the loot, I don't know if this was in Diablo 3, but you can transmog your stats and keep a certain look. Now, the one time, we were speaking about this in God of War, Ragnarok, that was a big leap too, where I just want to look a certain way, but I want to keep the stats of something that looks completely trash.
Yep.
And so important. Actually, when we played multi,
Yep.
you did an interesting mod for your barbarian.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's interesting. I mean, it's as basic as it gets. I just didn't want a shirt on my barbarian. I wanted the Conan look, you know.
The funny thing is, when I inspected GOG to see what did the armor look like without the invisibility thing, it's just a single belt strap anyway.
That was too much. That was too
So
much.
it was like one belt strap.
Get that off there.
Yeah, we
off
want to go
muscles,
bare.
like,
Yeah. You're
yeah.
pretty much bare, mate.
Not bare enough.
Not bare enough. Yeah.
What's great about the gear, I think, is there is so much to tinker with.
Yeah.
You've got everything from being able to socket gems, and then you've got the aspects and legendary gear where you can sort of reapply different aspects if you've found them in dungeons.
But speak to the aspects, because I feel like this is a new thing in Diablo 4.
They're basically little perks that you get from.
I wouldn't say little. I think they're quite significant. Well, the drilled ones are crazy.
Yeah.
Depends on the aspect, I think.
They're interesting perks.
Interesting-
Like,
they're like,
they're worth going after.
Well, they're passives, right? So they're passive additions to gear,
Yep.
but some of them can significantly change the gameplay. The one I'm trying to chase, there's an aspect that adds any bear attack that I use will change it to an earth element. So it's not just me pulverized, like smashing the ground. It makes it an earth element, but then I've got all these other passives, because I'm an earth druid, that makes all my earth attacks even stronger.
Yeah, right.
So it stacks it on top, so I'm an earth bear.
One of the ones for the barbarian is like every second you stand still, you get more damage. It's really like you want to build an absolute tank who's just not moving.
You're an abattoir. Like you want all the demons to come in, and you're like, like a teppanyaki chef.
There's that delight of spending hours after a huge long battle, looking at all the stuff you've collected, deciding what am I going to salvage, because I need some materials maybe for some upgrades with the blacksmith. What am I going to sell? Do I need some gold? I tended to just sort of salvage everything because I feel like there's gold everywhere in the game. And every time I went to the blacksmith, I would place all my armor in the little upgrade thing and see what I could upgrade and get those extra little upgrade steps every way until something was maxed out, and I'd use it for another 5 minutes, and then I found something else better and I'd take it off. But
the chase is the chase and the cycle.
Tinker, 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 you know?
Do you ever buy anything from the
No.
camera?
See, I've never bothered to buy anything from the vendors because it's almost like, I don't know, like they generally can offer you some stuff that's a little bit better than what you've got.
Yeah.
You're going to find that from loot drops anyway.
That's such a classic Diablo thing. Well, the vendors must be so depressed in that world because their entire existence is to sell gear, and then no one's buying it. Everyone's walking by. Oh, hey, how you going? Do you want to? I've got a yellow axe. You gonna find one yourself? Oh.
It's a very one-way economy.
Yeah,
It's giving you all that money.
yeah, they're just selling. Yeah. Oh, now the game has returned aesthetically to its dark roots of Diablo 2. How do we feel about the graphics in Diablo 4?
It's very pretty. It's very dark and grimy, very metal, which I love.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, it is. Yeah.
super metal, super bloody. Like I'm into it.
One of the first dungeons I went to was called the Blood City. And it was
Says
just,
it all.
Yeah, no, but it was like it was a cave where anything that was solid was bone, and anything that wasn't solid was blood or guts. It was crazy. It felt like a music video for this metal.
That whole intro as well, like when Lilith comes down with just a cloak of skin, a robe. It's so
yuck,
gross,
and
but it's so cool.
It's amazing.
Like-
I thought the return to the dark and gritty was awesome, but the thing that I love is the feel of the graphic, the aesthetic feel of like when you do a big move, like my pulverize, for example, the ragdoll physics looks so cool. And then it also leaves a crater in the ground, and this is kind of gross as well, when I shoot lightning, I have a lightning storm ability, it either chars a character or like their flesh like burns off completely.
It's completely disintegrated.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
They've
looks amazing.
gone to town on the detail, and it sort of extends from everything from the backgrounds in the dungeons where there's a lot of depth and you're seeing something far off in the distance just sort of let off a big drop, but there's still something moving down there, or there's some like detail and chains sort of swinging, or the way that you can accidentally break furniture or things that will splinter with your attacks. Like that level of detail is really, really, really great.
Yeah.
And it's obviously one thing they've backed off on though, maybe because of the criticism they got from Diablo 3, is there's less color generally. It's sort of like, there are lots of blocks of one sort of tone. There's not a lot of color.
It's not cartoony.
So when you come across it, it really stands out. Like when you finally come across some lava fields or something, and it's like, whoa! It's all really red. Or
It's that combination, I think, of like a lot of attention to detail and really good lighting. Just the shadows and the vibe of everything just is spot on.
I also like that they made the decision to make maybe the backgrounds and everything less important than your character, like in your character's ability. I felt like my character popped a lot across that bleak landscape where it's like dirt and yuck on the ground.
That's
and then
true.
My lightning's purple or whatever. It pops out. When I'm like a big bear, I pop out. I actually can see my character clearly because Diablo's got so many things going on sometimes.
So, I mean, as well as looking great, the sound is excellent. I mean, the music's beautiful, and mood setting, and the voice acting is great. The guy who does Lorith, he's just got this amazingly deep voice.
Oh,
you know?
Gravelly.
And it's just so satisfying having that deep voice in your ears.
If you're going to trespass into my home, rifle through my things. Then at least have the decency to join me for supper. I'm bloody hungry.
Like all the performances are really, really great. This, you know, like the level of sound design is just like, it's amazing.
What about, how did we feel about the level design of, you know, the entire open world,
It's
the
bigger,
dungeons?
bigger map, more open.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's really clever the way it's almost maze-like. There are so many different paths that you can go to get to a location. So it's not just like you're down this one road and there's a little field off to the right or a field off to the left. You can really go, there's multiple ways when you look at the map. As a player who really likes to really sort of see what's in every corner of the map, that really...
Yeah, reveal the fog of
I loved-
war.
yeah,
I mean,
I
can
loved
we
it.
get a bloody horse though? I'm sick of running around. I do love it because there are things, little pit stops along the way, but it's such a big map. The map is massive. And I haven't
And you get
discovered-
distracted all the time.
all the time.
Just trying to like get one little section across takes an hour.
I do a thing where I open my map and then I'll set a waypoint in the fog of war, and it does give you a path. I'll follow it for about 34 seconds until I'm like, well, what's that? I'll follow that. And then I don't discover anything new, but I still enjoy it. I just would love a horse.
And there's always just a dungeon that you're passing that shows you the reward that you'll get if you complete it. And you're deciding like, well, do I, like that's for my class, so I'm gonna do that. And there's a few different levels. There are some really short ones that it's just like it's a cellar or something. And then there's those really long dungeons that you can go through.
What I loved about, you were speaking about aspects before and just then about things that could carry to different classes. In this new open world thing, these statues of Lilith that give you like a server-wide upgrade for all the characters that you make. I love that as well. Now, they're talking, it's like beyond just the world of that singular character, but it transfers across to the characters on your account. I thought that was a really cool thing to encourage exploration.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's the same thing for the rewards you get for exploring the different areas. You know how like you get the
realm
extra potion, that stuff. I think that carries across as well.
So good.
Cool.
I love that little upgrade, that little addition, Diablo 4. Now, performance of the game, frame rate, server lag, did we
Smooth as butter on PC.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Good on you, Blizzard. The smoothest launch ever I think they've probably had for this scale of game. No queue time. I don't think you had to wait.
I mean, there was 10 seconds of queue maybe.
10 seconds, yeah.
I saw the menu
less
and
than
then
a
it was
minute.
gone. You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't an issue.
And like bugs, I didn't really find anything. Though I think there was maybe a couple of quests that didn't trigger the next phase of the quest for some reason. Like a character was meant to go open something for me and they didn't. But generally it was only really in multiplayer noticing some of the server lag issues or with just like, you know, you're all running as a party and suddenly someone's sort of jumping ahead or dropping behind. Or
I think I had one cellar where like I'd finished it, but the final wave just kept spawning.
Sick.
So I was just there, just chilling for a while. I was like, oh wait, this is a bug.
You just kept going.
Yeah.
But speaking of multiplayer, we played all together. How did we feel about Diablo 4 multiplayer? Did you enjoy your experience, Lee?
Yeah, it was heaps of fun. But again, I couldn't see what was happening in the best way.
Like as soon as I try and use a special power, like you guys have already killed them.
Yeah.
Before the hammer can fall, they're dead.
Well, it is funny, this whole idea of level scaling as well, because we all came in, you three were around the same level of 30-something. And I was 20-something. But for me, I was afraid it would be too hard. It was fine. If anything, it was a bit easy, hey?
So I was about 43, level 43.
Elliot was higher.
And like, and I noticed that it felt a bit too easy.
Okay.
Like solo play, the balance feels about right. And
Yes.
I feel like I'm having to use a lot of potions and I'm struggling a little bit at times. And we're playing on World Tier 2, which is one above the default difficulty. And you've got to unlock the others. But when it came to multi, it felt too easy.
But I think we were doing like pretty basic stuff. We were just exploring the world, doing a couple of little simple side quests. We weren't doing hard end game activities.
Not hard end games.
On the high world tier, you know, that's when it's going to get. You're going to want everyone on their A game. Like.
Yeah, that's right.
And you're not going to get it from me. Now, it might have scaled down for you, but I remember, Elliot, you were telling us about this incidental multiplayer stuff with strangers.
Yeah, so I think it's probably a side effect of the open world map.
Yes.
But you're bumping into other players a lot more, or you're walking down a road and someone over there is fighting a bunch of goat men and you're like, oh, I'll help him.
Yeah, and you just go,
Give them a
"Oh."
little help, and they've got some nice, easy little emotes that you can drop, so people are just like, "Thank you."
Yes.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Impressive. Thank you.
There lots of more. There's little incidental friendships are occurring in the game for me, which is really fun, and that's probably how people forge friendships in a game like this and go on to like play the game for tens of hours with friends they've made in the game, which is really great.
I felt awful because I kept declining. Everyone kept like wanting to, oh, do you want to join a party? Like, no.
No.
I'm trying to discover the rest of this map, okay? I don't have a horse. Like, I need to focus. But yeah, I do love that, how easy it is.
It reminded me a lot of Destiny 2, or just Destiny in general, where it's like you've got an open world, you just stumble across events and you see them, and then all of a sudden there's already someone there. You join in, you help out. Sometimes you come in and you hit one guy and the chest pops, and you're like, sweet. You know.
Well, that's cool because the world events in Diablo 4, like you don't even have to party up to, like someone can trigger it and you can literally
Just
right
stumble
at the
into
last hit, be like, I helped.
You can see it on the map
take it.
there. It's like it's going to start.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, it's starting in 20 seconds. I'm going to get there, and then you get there, and there's so many players. It's just chaos
Crazy.
on screen in terms of like not being able to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they are chaos.
Yeah.
But then the huge chests that drop and pop at the end, it's like it's almost like you can hear everyone cheering.
Yeah.
Like, hey, look at the loot. we
Spills
got.
out, it flies out of this chest. Yeah. It's so good. Now, what about like marketplace stuff? Do you even care about it?
I looked at it. I
Yeah.
looked at it and was like, well, it's only really cosmetic stuff, so that's fine. You know, if people want to do that. I don't really feel the urge to want to buy a cool set of armor to look a certain way.
It doesn't force it on you at all. You have to really stumble into it.
Yeah, it's actually real tucked away.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I don't know how good, I haven't actually looked at it. I don't know how good this marketplace armor is because the armor that I've got just from playing looks so good. Like just the regular pickup stuff is awesome.
The sorcerer stuff wasn't that great.
It's fine. I mean, do you know what? As time goes on, I'm sure it'll maybe get better.
Of course.
But
when they give you cat ears or something.
Yeah.
okay, now.
Oh.
Oh, meow. Sorry.
Special emotes that you can buy and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's, obviously this is a play or pass, okay? And it's our review system. Let's give ourselves a play or pass on Diablo 4. I'm gonna say Diablo 4 for me is a play. Absolutely can't wait to jump back in and probably play it for the next couple of months.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say for me, it's definitely a play. I don't really love the combat, but I am just obsessed with the build crafting, the loot chasing. Yeah, it's a play.
Luke?
It's definitely also a play for me, for the opposite reason. I like the mindless, just button mashing.
Yes.
I'm
switch
into
off.
it. Yeah, the switch off and just being able to like relax and just hit some stuff with lightning.
Yeah.
Shush a couple
Yeah, just
rowdy quill beasts.
It's like candied popcorn. I want more. You know, there's so much to tinker with. It's so satisfying. I loved Diablo 3. The end game of Diablo 3 was great, but I love this heaps more. It's definitely a play from me.
All right, let's say it on 3 then. 1, 2, 3, play.